The peace had lasted 1,000 years, an entire millennium of uneasy silence between humanity and the sprawling alien empires that watched the stars with cold, calculating eyes. It wasn't the kind of peace born from trust or friendship. It was a fragile truce, carved out after centuries of brutal conflict, battles that scorched planets and shattered alliances. But over time, both sides settled into a rhythm, each convinced the other too dangerous to provoke again. To the galactic powers, humans were an oddity at best. A primitive species confined to a single blue world, still struggling with basic interplanetary travel, barely scraping the surface of what the great empires had mastered. They were a curiosity, a footnote in the grand cosmic ledger. Many dismissed them outright, labeling humanity as a species bound by emotion, violence, and unpredictability, a liability, not a threat. Yet humans endured and quietly grew. Their cities reached skyward. Their machines whispered secrets of energy and matter that no alien mind had bothered to fully understand. Advances came in fits and starts, clumsy and uneven, but relentless. The aliens saw only sparks of chaos, not the slow, steady blaze of progress. They had little interest in a species that seemed so ill-prepared to play on the galactic stage. Behind the scenes, humans were no longer the children the galaxy thought they were. Scientists and strategists worked in shadows, creating technologies that bent physics and weaponry that could punch far above their weight. The human spirit, often dismissed as reckless, was in fact a furnace of innovation and stubborn survival. For all the sophistication of alien civilizations, none had mastered what humans had: adaptability, creativity, and a fierce unwillingness to bow. Still, peace held. But like all fragile things, it began to crack. Whispers echoed through alien corridors, rumors of human defiance, of covert experiments, of alliances with unknown forces. The balance, once so carefully maintained, began to tip. Alien leaders grew uneasy, their pride bruised by the unknown. They viewed the millennium of peace as a lull before the inevitable conflict, a time to gather strength, to prepare for war. And then, without warning, the silence shattered. The announcement came through every channel, every transmission, cutting across the galaxy like a shockwave. The 1,000-year peace was over. The alien empires declared war on humanity. Their message was clear: humans would be crushed, their rebellion extinguished before it could ignite. To them, it was a formality, a final show of dominance over a species they had already deemed inferior. But humanity did not panic. There was no fear in their response, no trembling hands or desperate calls for mercy. Instead, laughter echoed through human channels, a sound that carried both disbelief and defiance. The galaxy watched, expecting fear, and found instead an unshakable calm, a confidence that baffled and unnerved. This was not the reaction of a defeated species. It was the laughter of a predator that had waited patiently for the right moment, a moment when the hunter becomes the hunted. The aliens, in their arrogance, had misread humanity's silence as weakness. They failed to see the quiet storm building beneath the surface. Humans knew what the aliens did not. This war would not be a swift conquest but a test of endurance, ingenuity, and spirit. They had endured millennia of hardship and mockery and had learned to turn every disadvantage into an advantage. Their weapons were unlike anything the aliens had encountered, their strategies unorthodox and unpredictable. As the declaration rippled through the galaxy, humans prepared. Their scientists sharpened their designs, their soldiers trained with renewed purpose, and their leaders embraced the inevitable with clear eyes and steady hearts. The 1,000-year peace was not the end. It was merely the calm before a storm that would change everything. No one in the galaxy had seen what was coming. The aliens believed they were dealing with a species on the brink of collapse. But humans were ready. The laughter was not madness. It was the sound of a species that had survived against all odds and was about to prove it once more. The declaration of war spread like wildfire through the galaxy, igniting shock and disbelief among alien civilizations. Fleets that had once stood idle for centuries roared back to life, colossal warships emerging from hidden shipyards, their hulls bristling with weapons designed to crush entire planets. Alien leaders donned their armor of arrogance, broadcasting threats and ultimatums with cold precision, certain that this would be a quick and decisive victory. To them, the human response was the final proof of their superiority. A species that laughed in the face of annihilation must be deluded, they thought. But the laughter persisted. Human broadcasts streamed across communication arrays, not with panic or desperation, but with humor and mockery. Memes, jokes, and satirical news spread through human networks, turning the impending invasion into a spectacle of ridicule. Alien commanders found themselves bewildered. How could a species so clearly outmatched respond with such irreverence? The Galactic Council convened in emergency sessions, struggling to understand this unpredictable and seemingly reckless defiance. On Earth, the people stood united. Governments coordinated seamlessly, scientific communities shared breakthroughs openly, and citizens prepared not with fear, but with determination. The military unleashed new weapon systems developed in secret, machines that blended stealth, speed, and power in ways no alien had anticipated. Cyber warfare units penetrated enemy networks, sowing confusion and disruption. The aliens' overwhelming technology and numbers suddenly met a resistance that was agile, cunning, and relentless. Humanity's greatest strength revealed itself in its unpredictability. Alien warships equipped with devastating energy cannons found their attacks neutralized by adaptive human shields. Swarms of small, fast human drones evaded massive alien defenses and struck critical systems. Electronic warfare disabled communication links, leaving alien fleets disorganized and vulnerable. Every strike from the aliens was met with a counterattack that seemed to anticipate their moves, as if humans were playing a game the aliens didn't even know the rules to. Alien commanders began to realize they had underestimated humanity beyond measure. Their speeches turned from condescending taunts to frustrated demands. Their fleets, once confident and imposing, were now stretched thin and vulnerable. Yet, the humans remained calm, their laughter never fading, even as their ships danced through battlefields with precision and daring. Across colonies and space stations, human civilians contributed in unexpected ways. Hackers infiltrated alien supply chains, sabotaging reinforcements and rerouting resources. Scientists devised biological agents that targeted alien technologies, while engineers rapidly repaired and improved damaged ships. Morale remained high. Human culture embraced the conflict as a test of endurance and spirit rather than a hopeless fight. The aliens' shock turned into panic as reports of human victories mounted. Battle after battle showed the undeniable truth. Humans were not the weak species they had once mocked. They were survivors, innovators, and warriors with a ferocity that shook the galaxy's confidence. The galactic powers, once so sure of a swift conquest, found themselves fighting a war they had not prepared for, a war against a species that refused to be broken. Human laughter echoed through the void, a sound that signaled not madness, but an unbreakable resolve. The 1,000-year peace was over, but humanity was only just beginning to show what it was truly capable of. The initial battles caught the alien forces off guard. They had expected an easy campaign, a quick submission by a species they viewed as insignificant. Instead, they faced something altogether different. An enemy that was resourceful, relentless, and brilliantly unpredictable. Humanity's weapons and tactics confounded them at every turn. Human forces used guerrilla tactics on a galactic scale, striking where least expected and vanishing before retaliation. Fleets employed hit-and-run attacks, exploiting their smaller, more agile ships to outmaneuver massive alien war machines. Alien commanders found their most advanced technologies rendered useless by human innovations that seemed to evolve faster than they could adapt. Cyber warfare became a primary battlefield. Human hackers infiltrated alien command networks, not just to disrupt communications, but to feed false information and turn alien systems against themselves. Alien ships fired on phantom targets or retreated from imaginary threats. The psychological impact was devastating. The aliens were fighting shadows and ghosts, uncertain where the next blow would land. Biological warfare, too, took an unexpected form. Humans engineered viruses that targeted alien machinery and bioorganisms, crippling their life support systems and weaponry without harming human forces. These invisible weapons spread quietly through the alien fleets, forcing them into quarantine and chaos. The aliens' reliance on technology became a weakness that humans exploited with cold efficiency. Human soldiers were celebrated not just for their bravery, but for their ingenuity. Pilots piloted fragile-looking crafts with uncanny skill, weaving through alien defenses with calculated daring. Ground forces used the environment, asteroid belts, nebulae, and abandoned space stations, to stage ambushes and retreats, turning terrain into an ally. Every human fighter was a problem solver, improvising on the fly and turning setbacks into opportunities. The unity of humanity was a force alien empires had never experienced. Civilians on Earth and throughout human space contributed tirelessly. Engineers developed upgrades that were sent directly to battlefronts, sometimes arriving mid-conflict. Civilians hacked enemy drones to flip their allegiance, turning enemy weapons into tools of defense. Human society, for all its flaws, functioned as a single organism, driven by survival and pride. Alien leaders, meanwhile, struggled to keep their forces coordinated. The unpredictability of human attacks bred paranoia. They suspected traitors, spies, and internal dissent. The vast empires that had once ruled unchallenged found themselves fighting a guerrilla war with no clear front lines or battlefields. Their massive fleets and overwhelming firepower were blunted by the very adaptability they had mocked. Each human victory bolstered morale across the species. The laughter that once seemed like reckless bravado now rang with the confidence of a species that had tasted victory and refused to back down. The galaxy began to see humans not as primitive upstarts, but as formidable warriors capable of challenging even the greatest empires. The war had only just begun, but it was clear to all who watched that the humans' unseen arsenal was more than just weapons. It was a testament to their spirit, their refusal to be defined by weakness. Their ability to turn every disadvantage into a strength set them apart. The aliens had declared war expecting an easy conquest, but they were facing a storm unlike any before. The humans were fighting not just for survival, but for their place among the stars, and they were winning. The turning point came unexpectedly, not with a massive battle or a last-ditch defense, but with a maneuver so clever it shattered the alien coalition's confidence. Human forces launched a coordinated strike deep into the heart of enemy territory, targeting the central command hubs that controlled the alien fleets. What made it remarkable wasn't just the precision or scale, but the way it exploited alien overconfidence, turning their greatest strength against them. Human engineers had developed technology that could infiltrate alien systems, not simply to disable them but to reprogram them. Ships turned on their own allies, weapons locked onto friendly targets, and communication lines became tangled webs of deception. The aliens, masters of warfare for millennia, were caught in a digital spider's web they couldn't escape. Their once unified fleets fractured into chaos as mistrust and confusion spread like wildfire. The human forces did not just rely on brute strength. They showed restraint and honor, disabling enemy vessels without unnecessary destruction when possible, earning a reluctant respect even from their enemies. It was a statement, a demonstration that humanity's strength was not just in weapons but in its values. They fought to survive and to protect, not simply to dominate. Alien leadership began to crack under the pressure. Some factions pushed for negotiation, while others demanded total annihilation. Internal strife weakened their resolve. Meanwhile, human commanders used this discord to press their advantage, striking quickly at divided forces. The war had become more than a battle of fleets. It was a war of wills and minds. As the dust settled on this critical campaign, the message was clear across the galaxy. Humanity was no longer the underdog. They had endured centuries of dismissal and ridicule, and now stood as a force that demanded recognition. Their laughter in the face of annihilation was no longer mockery but a declaration of supremacy. The species once underestimated was rewriting the rules of galactic power. The galaxy watched in awe and, for some, in fear. Humans had not only survived but thrived in the crucible of war, proving their place among the stars was earned, not given. This was a species forged by hardship and honed by determination, capable of overcoming impossible odds through ingenuity and spirit. The war was far from over, but one truth was undeniable. Humans were no longer a footnote in cosmic history. They had become a force that would shape the future of the galaxy. And as humanity looked forward, the question on everyone's mind was not if they would win, but what they would do with their newfound power. The laughter continued, stronger, bolder, because it was the sound of a species that refused to be broken. It was the sound of humanity's triumph, echoing through the stars, reminding the universe that when humans rise, they rise to change everything.